Well, to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, I'm now going to share with you a nightmare that probably none of you have ever even remotely considered. And this, needless to say, has nothing to do with happiness. This is truly black comedy, so if you are squeamish or if you have a hard time getting to sleep, leave this until the morning. I promise it will shake you hard. So, you've been warned. Here we go. If you think the jobs market and larger economy are bad now, just wait for the future. In the future, virtually everyone you know may be on the dole. There are lots of projections and scenarios about what to expect as technology advances to practically unimaginable heights. Already, many human jobs are being displaced by computers, and most trends point to a rise of automated assembly lines, computer-run logistics, and services and robots to do jobs humans did before that. China has already ushered in a workforce of robots with less and less reliance on humans for anything. What does this mean for the average American? In a word, dependence. From The Week, and I quote, "The robopocalypse for workers may be inevitable. In this vision of the future, super smart machines will best humans in pretty much every task. A few of us will own the machines, a few will work a bit, perhaps providing made-by-man artisanal goods, while the rest of us will live off a government-provided income. Silicon-based superintelligence and robots will dramatically alter labour markets. To name but one example, the most common job in most US states probably will no longer be truck driver." End of quote. The article also discusses the impact that Amazon.com specifically is already having on retail business. Quote, "Just look at how Amazon is disrupting brick-and-mortar retailing. And even though tech firms such as Google and Facebook generate huge revenues, they employ comparatively few people versus industrial giants of the past, such as IBM or General Motors. In the 1970s, General Motors employed more than 600,000 people, 10 times more than Google and Facebook combined. Moreover, their use of robotic warehouse workers and coming use of delivery drones are sure to have further impact on jobs." Former Intel executive Bill Davidoff makes a strong claim, quote, "For all its economic virtues, the Internet has been long on job displacement and short on job creation. As a result, it is playing a central role in wage stagnation and the decline of the middle class." End of quote, and end of quote. So the very few at the top will be owners as they are now, but with perhaps greater clout over human affairs. A token few will have human work where man-made might find appreciation and market, and more will become utterly dependent upon the government. Not only will the middle class disappear, but so will the working poor, as there becomes less and less meaningful work to do. If you thought the welfare state was bad now, with a record number of homes on food stamps, many out of work or giving up on work, and a significant portion of what used to be the middle class struggling just to make ends meet, it may be that we haven't seen anything yet. While we can hope for things to turn around, we should prepare for the worst. What happens if we all become hordes of helpless masses, completely dependent on government for everything? It might sound okay to some, but time for a reality check. Life at the hands of government assistance is no kind of life at all. From healthcare to food and everything else in life, government and technology will be the provider. Ready for that? This is why former Sun Microsystems CEO Bill Joyce stated that, quote-unquote, "the future doesn't need us." And that quote is actually from Ted Kaczynski's manifesto on the human condition under technology. Humans face a literal existential crisis for relevance, purpose, and survival. All but the most ultra-wealthy risk being pulled down with this tidal force. People will become pawns in their own existence. In the coming age of human pets, dignity comes at a high price. People will be kept around at the pleasure of their controllers and live a shallow existence of welfare benefits for absolutely every calculable dimension in life. Due to improved techniques, the elite will have greater control over the masses, and given that human work will no longer be necessary, the masses will be superfluous, a useless burden on the system. If the elite is ruthless, they may simply decide to exterminate the mass of humanity. If they are humane, they may use propaganda or other psychological or biological techniques to reduce the birth rate until the mass of humanity becomes extinct, leaving the world to the elite. Or, if the elite consists of soft-hearted liberals, they may decide to play the role of good shepherds to the rest of the human race. They will see to it that everyone's physical needs are satisfied, that all children are raised under psychologically hygienic conditions, that everyone has a wholesome hobby to keep him busy, and that anyone who may become dissatisfied undergoes treatment to cure his problem. Of course, life will be so purposeless that people will have to be biologically or psychologically engineered, either to remove their need for the power process or make them sublimate their drive for power into some harmless hobby. These engineered human beings may be happy in such a society, but they will most certainly not be free. They will have been reduced to the status of domestic animals. Wow! Time to bug out and work on trading your skills for survival, my friends. I'm afraid my personal appreciation for the human race has me believing in either the ruthlessness of the elite that I described first, or the much, much more likely scenario, the partial but overwhelming extermination of the human race through mutually assured nuclear annihilation. We can see the beginnings of this manifestation of the death wish with the American pundits goading the Russians and willing a destructive nuclear exchange. Of course, they'll never admit to this, but there is no other explanation for the terrifying way in which the elite are daring the powers that be not to commit the first strike. This is no game. This is a psychological thriller where we really are truly approaching the crossroads leading to life or death. Very sobering, ladies and gentlemen, and just another reason to face reality ahead of time and make plans accordingly. The technology revolution has delivered Google searches, Facebook trends, iPhone apps, Twitter rants, and shopping for almost anything on Amazon, all in the past decade and a half. What it hasn't delivered is many jobs. Google's Alphabet and Facebook had at the end of last year a total of 74,505 employees, about one-third fewer than Microsoft, even though their combined stock market value is twice as big. Photo-sharing service Instagram had 13 employees when it was acquired for $1 billion by Facebook in 2012. Hiring in the computer and chip sectors dived after companies shifted hardware production outside the US, and the newest tech giants needed relatively few workers. The number of technology startups fizzled. Growth in productivity and wages slowed, and income inequality rose as machines replaced routine low- and middle-income human-powered work. This outcome is a far cry from what many political leaders, tech entrepreneurs and economists predicted about a generation ago. In 2000, President Bill Clinton said in his last State of the Union address, quote-unquote, "America will lead the world towards shared peace and prosperity and the far frontiers of science and technology." His economic team trumpeted, quote-unquote, "the ferment of rapid technological change" as one of the US economy's principal engines of growth. The gap between what the tech boom promised and then delivered is another source of the rumbling national discontent that powered the rise this year of political outsiders Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. The tech-powered disappointment is subtler than the anger caused by the crushing impact of China's import invasion and the perceived failures of government institutions like the Federal Reserve in guiding the economy. Instead, it stems from the idea that Americans expected larger economic gains from these amazing new machines and the companies that created them, not a widening between the haves and have-nots. By the time Steve Jobs died in 2011, Apple made nearly every one of its products outside America, largely in Asia. Apple halted US manufacturing in 2004 and didn't resume until 2013 when it began producing Mac Pro personal computers in Austin, Texas. Apple says it employs about 80,000 workers in the US, or two-thirds of the company's overall workforce. About half the US employees have retail jobs. American tech workers are getting a smaller piece of the economic pie created from what they produce. As of 2014, employee compensation in computer and electronic parts making was equal to 49% of the value of the industry's output, down from 79% in 1999, according to the Commerce Department. WhatsApp had more than 450 million users worldwide when Facebook bought the messaging service for $19 billion in 2014, turning founder Jan Koum into a billionaire several times over. At the time of the acquisition, WhatsApp had 55 employees. Economists call the phenomenon skill-biased technical change. The spoils of growth go to those few people with skills and luck who are best positioned to take advantage of new technology. The 5 largest US-based technology companies by stock market value, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Facebook and Oracle, are worth a combined $1.8 trillion today. That's 80% more than the 5 largest tech companies in 2000. Yet today's 5 giants have 22% fewer workers than their predecessors, or a total of 434,505 as of last year, compared with 556,523 at Cisco, Intel, IBM, Oracle and Microsoft in 2000. Harvard University economist David Deming estimates that the hollowing out of work spread to programmers, librarians and engineers between 2000 and 2012. Consulting firm McKinsey estimates that as much as $2 trillion worth of human economic activity could be automated away using existing technologies, such as Amazon's robots, in coming years. Nightscope, based in Mountain View, California, makes robots that serve as night watchmen. About 3 dozen are on patrol, including at shopping malls, corporate campuses such as Microsoft's in Mountain View, and the new home arena of the Sacramento Kings. Nightscope clients pay $7 an hour per robot. Robots don't complain, says Stacey Stevens, a Nightscope co-founder and president of marketing and sales. There's no pension and there's no workers' comp. So is this a downside or an upside? Think carefully. Technology advancement is price deflationary. It creates huge winners, but who fails to benefit from faster computers, better phones, better monitors, better TVs? Technology improves standards of living and greatly increased life expectancy. People today live like kings compared to 100 years ago. There's no downside to technology advancement. There is a downside to central banks hell-bent on producing inflation in a deflationary world. Some don't see the benefit of technology because the Fed has stripped much of it away. People are angry, and rightfully so. They just fail to see who is most to blame.